Welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and tonight for the matchday coverage of the Ross County game, I am delighted to be joined by Lawrence Connolly and Anthony Haggerty for the matchday bulletin. How are you doing, guys? We have just had a fairly lengthy discussion about that lineup, so let's dive right in. I'm wondering if if you look through the spine of that team, you've got Joe Hart, Carter Vickers, Starfelt, McGregor and Beaton. We can argue the toss about everybody else. That seems pretty firm. Would you take that, Tony? The spine of that team is pretty solid. Everything else is up for grabs.
The spine of the team's good. I am delighted to see Scales, though. To be fair, I did say I wrote the other day, and I said on Monday on the Celtic Way that I thought Scales could feature. I felt he would feature. Didn't expect to see Montgomery, though. And I think from what we were talking about off air and looking at it, it looks like it might be Abada through the middle.
Yeah.
Possibly. Yeah, which is something we've been talking about on the other podcast that are doing the one of the Celtic Way for a while. So, yeah, it's probably as strong a team that we could put out without Rogic, isn't it? Rogic not being there perplexes me, but I guess he's maybe trying to protect Rogic ahead of Sunday, but we need match winners in the team. Rogic is a match winner. Win the match and then take him off. But again, you say, he might get injured, but we run the risk of players getting injured in every game now just because of the intensity we train at and we play at. So it's vital that we win this game. So it's a mixed bag for me. Happy with the spine, happy with Scales. Not so happy that Rogic isn't playing. Looking at the bench, it's a bit light, but delighted to see young Moffat there as well. Hopefully might get a chance. It's mixed bag, isn't it? But hopefully good enough to be able to see off Ross County.
Well, as you say, it is. Every league game is a must-win. We're 4 points behind, and we can't allow that gap to increase any further. Now, Lawrence, we'll run through the team blow by blow. As I was saying before, Hart, there's absolutely no arguments anywhere with that. Let's kick off by looking at Scales. Earlier on in the bulletin, Brian Degnan spoke about bringing Scales in for a start. It looks like he's going to start at left back. He can also be deployed on the left-hand side of a central defensive partnership. Were you impressed when you saw him against Dundee United?
Yeah, come on, he had a good goal. He's really composed when he's taking it. It doesn't look out of place. Technically, he looks good. Great composure. So, yeah, I thought Taylor was a bit off the pace. I know he's just back from injury for the weekend there. So, not overly surprised by the change, I suppose.
One of the big things for me, and I mentioned this after the game, was, when you play Taylor and in front of Taylor, you've got Mikey Johnston. That is weak, Tony. There's no physicality there. I think Scales has the physicality. I'm not so sure about Montgomery, but Scales certainly has that, doesn't he?
Scales has got it in abundance. I have no qualms about Scales. Montgomery I worry about. Might be one of those rough and tumble kind of games, and just worry if he's robust enough to cope with that. But it's an opportunity for the boy to go and make a name for himself and dig Celtic out a hole because they need a win in this one. So Montgomery's been given a chance, so go and take it. Scales, I'm pleased with Scales. Yeah, as I say, I have absolutely no qualms because I think Scales is somebody who can play himself into contention for Hampden on Sunday. I really believe that. I think he can make the starting 11 if he puts in a good showing tonight because I rate him. I rate him highly, and at the moment it's needs must, and we have to play. We're trying to play our strongest 11, but that's certainly far from our strongest 11. But we are in a sticky wicket, as they say.
Yeah,
with injuries to players. So listen, it's a case of we need to get in and out of Dodge with 3 points. How we do it is immaterial. Substance over style. Again, just win the football match. I can't. It can't. The message can't be any clearer than that to the players. And as Anne keeps saying, they keep rising to the challenges. This is another one. Go and do it again.
Yeah, we spoke about it on Monday, Tony, about getting the result, and it's often with several players who are your second choice, but now we're going into the realms of some of the players who on paper would be your third choice. I mean, from a position of having Abada, firing all cylinders on the right, Kyogo through the centre and Jota on the left. We've now got, potentially, the way I see the team tonight, Juranovic on the right, Montgomery on the left, and possibly Abada through the middle. But then I'm looking ahead to the cup final. Johnston was very doubtful. I think that was the pre-match that we got from Ange. Johnston was very, very doubtful. He's not made it. And if that's the case, you're looking at Montgomery there, a player who, you know, a lot of people are unsure whether or not he's better offensively or defensively, but you're looking at Montgomery there, and he now has a massive shout for a cup final starting berth.
They all that team now have a massive shout for a cup final starting berth, because that's just, Celtic are down to the bare bones. You know, and he said he's, don't know if he's teasing us with Kyogo, going to give him every chance, but he leaves it up to the player. As we said on Monday, the player will say he's fit. Medical science, the medical team might dispute that, but would you be surprised to see Kyogo playing Sunday?
Wouldn't surprise me. I'll tell you what, though, it does concern me, because remember, El Yunusi was thrown back in for the final, and although we won it 1-0, it was biting the nails right down to the wick, Lawrence. I never think it's a good idea, because what actually happened after that particular final, well, El Yunusi was thrown back into it. He was poor. You could tell he wasn't fit. He then had a lengthy period on the sidelines after it. So it does concern me. Yes, I'd love to see Kyogo lining up in the final, but you don't want to rush it either. You don't want to aggravate an injury and get into a situation like we seem to have with Forrest at the moment, where he comes back for a few games and he's back out again.
Yeah, I mean, Forrest was, I think Ange's on record saying he wasn't 100%, but they played him. But then neither was Mikey, and now Mikey's out. So we just lost two players in one game by doing that. So, but it's cup final. I guess it depends how it goes tonight. You know, if Abada turns the corner, gets his confidence back and scores a few, it maybe makes us all a wee bit more confident of not playing Kyogo. It's just we're so short that where's our options up front? And I know we were talking off air. Abada came in, he was rattling them in. He's not scored in a while. So I think it's just where we are. There's just not enough players.
I know.
I've got the Copa Mundials in that cupboard behind me. Ange, if you're listening, you know, just
Copa Mundials, was that Henrik's boots?
Black pair of boots, a pair of black football boots, you know, which all football boots should be. They're in that cupboard there. I think worn once, I believe.
Is there a smell? Is there a smell of the dubbing when you open the cupboard door there, Tony?
Old dubbing, yeah, definitely. Yep. I just lack two things: ability, and I think I'm about 4 stone overweight. But that's neither here nor there.
Lawrence, you mentioned Larsson's boots. It was a story Tony told us, wasn't it, Tony Curran, when we were in the penalty spot tonight's sponsors. We were in the penalty spot a few weeks back, and Tony told us a story about playing alongside Henrik for one of the charity games. Abada up front is something that Jim Orr on a Friday has been talking about for some time. He thought that he hadn't gone off the boil so much on the right-hand side. He just isn't a right-sided player. That's Jim's take on it. And I think it's one of these things where it would be nice to give him the opportunity tonight, because it does give us another option should Kyogo, Tony, not make it on Sunday. I mean, what's your thoughts on Abada? He did seem pretty prolific, scored against Midfield in his first competitive game for Celtic, but he's been in and out of it. He's a wee bit inconsistent, and I know people keep reminding us that he's only 20, but it's time for game changers, it's time for game winners, match winners, as you said earlier.
Yeah, I mean, Abada came in, got 4 and 7, and he's now on 7 and 30. So we spoke off air, and I made up my word, said you can chart his off the boilness, but you know what I mean. You can chart his kind of, his contribution being less and less, and Jim Orr's giving him a hard time about that, being a passenger, and you have to contribute. You need to be a 7 or an 8 all the time, and you have to. If you're being fair, you say to Abada being out on the right hand side, he's not been a 7 or an 8 consistently enough this season. Hit the ground running, but maybe this is what he needs to be through the middle and maybe get a chance to score and take it and get those confidence levels back. And there's a player in Abada, most definitely, and he's got pace to burn, and you just have to channel that the right way. Again, like Scales, like Montgomery, you're being given a chance tonight. You have to contribute. Celtic need to win tonight. You've got to play your part. You've got to step up to the plate. regardless of how young you are, this is a game that we know no prisoners. Ross County are on a undefeated 4-game run. 2 wins, 2 draws, I believe. So no slouches. This is not a gimme. This is going to be as hard as it gets for Celtic this season, and I say that because it's a midweek trip when you're going up with a injury-depleted squad, and you have to, just whatever way possible, win this football match. You just have to put everything to the back of your mind. As Ange himself said, they're not looking for excuses. They haven't given any excuses. They've just got on with the job at hand. It's one of them tonight. Get on with the job at hand. We can moan the fact that this team's not playing, that team's not playing, talk about formation, square pegs, round holes, or whatever. We've got 11 players out there representing Celtic, knowing that it's vital that they win. There is no other motivation. That's all you need against a team who have started to string a few results together and notoriously make it difficult for you up there. Right? Go and meet that challenge head on again. And just
absolutely.
So. Yeah.
I asked you on Monday, Tony, about would you be happy with a 1-0? And I think the pair of us were unanimous in that we would be happy with a 1-0 tonight. When you look at the trip up to Ross County, we are well represented, ACSOM. Several members of the team are up at the game. Us three are obviously watching it on the box. Pretty disappointing, Lawrence, that it's not been covered. We're having to tune on the PPV service.
Yeah. Listen, it just seems like we're getting milked, Premier Sports, Sky Sports, BT Sports, the PPV. They don't seem to cover a lot of our away games, but not as it is. I'm sure there's some other channel that I've never been on, Heads Goal, sometimes covers it. But yeah, it's disappointing that it's not on. Listen, see, on Abada, I'm not convinced he's going to be through the middle. I think it might be a wee bit more like the weekend, with Turnbull, with Thrawn and Abada on the right, Montgomery on the left, and maybe Ralston moving into midfield.
So do you reckon Juranovic might make a start in his preferred right-back role tonight?
I think so. I mean, when Ralston's been playing, when he's played inverted and come into the midfield, he's actually looked pretty decent, good range of passing. So, just saying, it's not a given that Abada's going to be through the middle. It could be more like what we done with the forward line at the weekend, playing Turnbull just kind of behind, false 9 or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, we'll find out in about 17 minutes or so. But I think he might go with that because it's kind of maybe the less disruptive for him. He's been playing.
Well, when I looked at the team, I took it for granted Abada would be through the middle, Ralston straight back in at right back. Tony, I mean, he's just a player that we no longer talk about in terms of whether or not he should be in the team or whether or not he should have the jersey. I mean, he came on against Motherwell and just fitted right back in, played a tremendous ball up the right wing, and then clattered in and won a brilliant duel. And that's what we've seen all season from Tony Ralston, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's what's needed. That's going to be needed tonight. Any Celtic team that they put out should be good enough to beat Ross County. Let's be honest, right? They should be. Right? It's not bigging them up to be something that they're not. But I'm just talking about in terms of Celtic's starting 11. That's nowhere near your starting 11 if everybody's fit and firing on all cylinders. But these are just the trials and tribulations of a season and playing football. So, but I've never known so many players to be out at so many time at the same time from like in the same kind of positions, like up front or attack-minded players. I've never known so many. I'm trying to think off the top of my head and I can't. I mean, that's Kyogo, Jota, Forrest, Mikey Johnston. Four.
Plus Dembele and Julian, of course.
And Ayeti.
Aye, so but there's
Yakamakis.
There's six attack-minded players, and you can't choose any of them tonight, and as I said to you, you can't moan about it. You have to make do, and that's why you have a big squad. So you should be able to cope with Ross County. That's the point I'm making, but it doesn't make the task any less, daunting, does it?
The thing, Tony, I always remember when we weren't covering the games as live bulletins, and before the lockdown, you'd always look on the back of the programme and Celtic's squad was like 2 times the size of virtually every other team. You could see it on the back. It was pretty obvious that we had a right depth of squad. That's on the board. There's no way that anybody else can be blamed. That's on the board, and it's not me just taking an opportunity to give them a dig. There's no way we should be going into the 4 competitions that Ange has competed in if you combine the 3 European competitions as one. With that's lack of depth. Absolutely no way. I mean, we've seen it on day 1 against Midtjylland when Beaton gets sent off and we have to call on Dane Murray, who's never kicked a ball for the first team. And it's continued throughout the season. And then you've got the counter act of players playing too much, not getting a rest and then pulling up injured. So, yeah, we've got the high-tempo play and the high-tempo training, which may well be contributing to it, but also too many games. So there's players in that team who probably well overdue a rest. Cameron Carter-Vickers can't get a rest. If he's fit, he plays. You know, and it's starting to look the same with Ralston, Hart, Starfelt, McGregor, and there's quite a few in there. Tony, you said that there's no resemblance to that being our first 11, our first team. How many players in that starting 11 do you think are first picks, in your opinion? If you look at it, maybe a third? Do you think it's half?
Yeah. We said at the start, Hart, Ralston, Juranovic, Carter-Vickers, Starfelt, Turnbull.
McGregor, Beaton, perhaps.
Beaton. So that's 8. Well,
so a third of your team are either second or third choices, and it's down to injury, but it's not poor form. There's nobody sitting on that bench because they've gone off the boil. Yeah. You know, every player that's getting dropped these days is down to an injury. So, Lawrence, we can't go through that team without picking up on this partnership that's being developed at the back. And a lot of people say, well, Carter-Vickers and Starfelt are developing a good partnership. You can't forget the influence of Joe Hart behind them there. So we've now got that trio at the back that when you see those 3, you know, it does give you a bit of hope, because I think they've developed a right good understanding. And I think that since Starfelt came back in from his injury, there's less moments of the game where you think, you know, you're taking a sharp intake of breath. He seems a lot more comfortable, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, listen, we've got best defence in the league, and those 3 are a huge part of it. You know, the more the team as a whole are playing together, the better we're looking. So defensively, I don't really have any worries. You know, as much as we may get criticised a bit in the paper and Starfelt's a bit dodgy, I don't think he's been a nightmare. You know, he's come in and I think he's settled in fairly well to Scottish football. An injury, he's looked better since he came back. Yep, Cameron Carter-Vickers, hopefully we sign him long term. But defensively, I don't think it's a worry for us just now, which is weird because we were warned before Ange comes in. You know, he's like going to lose goals. Defence, he doesn't really bother about that, but it seems to be the first thing he sorted out. And, you know, we're kind of more through injury than anything, but it's the forward line. We're now struggling with. Tony said it, you know, Rodgers a match winner, but he's on the bench. Where are our goals coming from? You know, I think probably most of that 11's got, apart from Hart, have a goal in them during the game at some point in a season. But it's not having that out and out goal scorer in the team where you can, you know, as maybe evens or 2 to want to get a goal tonight. It's
that point in the season has come tonight, Lawrence, where everybody has to have a goal in them. You know,
aye, totally. You know,
tonight. So,
if you were on the supporters bus, what number would you want for first goal? You know, it's kind of.
You would take any of them, wouldn't you? Because anybody in that team, as you say, might step up to the plate tonight.
So, see, when you look at it as a whole, though, Tony, it is the defensive area that you're far more confident with, I would suggest, as well as McGregor and Beaton, which I think is a fairly solid partnership. But you look at Hart, Ralston, Scales, Carter-Vickers and Starfelt, not seen a great deal of Scales, but he has looked promising. But when you look at that as a back 5, I'm pretty confident with that. It really is unusual that we're now talking about this entertaining, creative side with a lack of goals in it up top.
But I'm going to go back to something that Lawrence said there. I'm confident both in their ability to defend and keep out Ross County, but I'm also confident in the fact that one of them might be the match winner tonight. You might have to rely on them from a set piece or, you know, I don't know, a Juranovic Panenka penalty or something, or
Tony Ralston likes a goal.
A worldie for Ralston.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But so Cameron Carter-Vickers has, scored a couple of goals. I think it's the Starman that...
We're due a goal from Starfelt.
Spinning the bottle, it's spinning to Starfelt in it. Say, right, you, the big Swede, you're now starting to settle into your stride. Let's wrap it all off by netting the winner at Dingwall. That would be lovely. But I'm confident in both their abilities in both boxes to repel anything that Ross County throw at them. And I think they can cause havoc. And I think a big thing will be tonight, Celtic with set pieces. We need to be a wee bit more clinical, and if we get them and fashion opportunities from them, that if that means defenders getting their heads to something, the goalie saving it, and Abada snapping up if he's playing through the middle or whatever, that kind of thing, because it might take that to break it down.
See, on the set pieces,
yeah,
we've probably got as tall a team as we've had out in a while. Montgomery and Scales are tall boys, beaten Starfelt, Carter-Vickers. So you're still thinking, well, that's as tall as we've been. We're generally not a tall team, but you're looking for movers.
Yeah, so there's height
boys there.
That's a fair point, Lawrence. There's height there, so if we get set pieces, they could be important. So why not try and use that height?
I'm still waiting on my Les Ferdinand, Tony, to come in and marry up with the Ginola crosses from Jota. I'm going to run through some of the comments coming in. Alan Robertson, thanks for joining us. You're commenting on YouTube. What's the thoughts on the lineup? We're giving you the thoughts as we run through that lineup, trying to figure out exactly how we're going to line up. Lawrence has a theory, and I think that Abada is going to be playing through the middle. Sean F. Would agree with that. It looks like Abada's playing through the middle, so hopefully he can offer the similar press from the front as Kyogo. The thing with Kyogo is he's quickly become irreplaceable, no matter who you play in place of Kyogo. I remember the start when he comes back in for the Leverkusen game at home, Tony, whilst he was out, we just weren't winning the same kind of games as we do when he's in the team.
Yeah, listen, of course you're going to miss him, but we can't do anything about it. You just have to... I quite like the manager's taking all this. He keeps saying we're not going to look for excuses, and the guys just keep rising to the challenge. So again, it's another obstacle. It's no something they can't overcome because they've got better players. So go and prove that tonight. Yeah, that you're a better team with better players. Yeah, it's difficult, but it's not insurmountable. It's Ross County, but we have came a cropper there before, recently, as we all know. So that's all. You have to be mindful of that and wary of that. And I think Ross County are thinking they're getting Celtic at the best possible time with Celtic's personnel, and they're on a 4-game unbeaten run, as I said. So they'll fancy their chances, and they might come at you. So you better be ready for that. Lords touched upon it there with the defence. They might be put under early pressure just to see how they withstand it. But I'm confident that Celtic 11 can win the game. But I just my worry is where the goals are coming from. That's all. But that's why I mentioned things like set pieces. We need to be switched on both ends of the park, and whoever's playing through the middle, if they get a chance, it can't be like Sunday. It has to be put away.
We've missed a hell of a lot of chances, Tony. I'm not going to single them out, but Forest against Motherwell and against Hearts, there were 3 gilt-edged chances. I think you would normally have expected them to score at least 2 of them. So you're right, we need to be more clinical in front of goal, particularly tonight. And Abada, you're looking at him playing straight through the middle. If it doesn't work tonight, we might revert back to what we did at the weekend. So it's on him. He needs to step up a wee bit, like what we said when Starfelt came back into the side. There was still a few doubts, and we said, you know what, it's time for him to step up. He's a Swedish internationalist. We paid £4.5 million for him. Just go out and actually do your job. And that's what he's done since he's came back in. Matthew Wright, a few Jackie Chans. You'll love a wee bit of rhyming slang, Tony. And a dodgy Ross County TV stream. What more could you want from life? Matthew, I hope you enjoy the game. All I want's a pack of 6 tins and Kyogo back. Aye.
A couple of desperate Dans there, the man, think
a few desperate Dans. It's interesting. You look at that team, that you look at the midfield of McGregor and Beaton, and there is no concerns. Because Beaton was one of those players, Lawrence, we've said it so many times on ACSOM, He certainly wasn't your first pick. He might not even have been your second pick. But he's come in and he's done really, really well in that midfield area. One thing I've pointed out is that he was the player I always felt slowed our play down. We would be playing quite high tempo and he would slow it down. I noticed it particularly under Ronnie Dyler when he played quite a few games. He doesn't seem to be that type of player now. He's playing the high tempo. I don't think you can play any other way if you're in Angie's team, to be fair. Yeah,
he's got to follow the manager's instructions, but you'll remember the beginning of last season when I tipped him as Brown's replacement. So, you know, he played under Ronnie, done well.
You've got your wish, Lawrence, you've got your wish.
Totally. Listen, he's taken the coaching on board and he's sped it up a bit, but his range of passing is great. There's a boy that used to, you know, he's not been loads of goals, but every now and again he used to pop up with a 20-odd yarder, didn't he? And maybe tonight we'll see something from Beaton in that side. But I think he's slotted into Angie's number 6 role seamlessly. You know, we've got him, we've got McGregor, we've got McCarthy, Scott Robertson on loan, and Sorrell that can arguably play there. We're kind of well covered for that position. So I think he's doing well to make it his own. You know, he's the first choice for it now.
Just to clarify, based on that last comment, we're not watching dodgy streams. We're watching the official PPV streams at ACSOM. So as well as the troops who are up at the game, we have had to pay for the game. Right, this is interesting because I was going to bring up the versatility of, the adaptability of Juranovic, and he needs huge credit. I mean, he's come in as a Croatian right back. He's been playing left back. He's been playing potentially a right wing, as he might do tonight as he finished the game at the weekend. And AGSC Tech says, Joseph is so versatile, that lad could repair our disco lights, market a new kit, and 7 out of 10 in any area of the pitch. You've got to give him credit for that, Tony. Just steps in, no nonsense, gets on with it.
He's a good footballer. End of, isn't it? And Jim Moore's, he likes his 7, 8 out of 10s, doesn't he? Every week. So I think Juranovic has certainly proved himself. One kind of slight criticism would be his passing can be erratic, can't it? At times. There's a mistake in him now and again. But that apart, he's been pretty solid, hasn't he? Regardless of where he's played on the pitch. And I think he's kind of settled in now. He's kind of happy and he's comfortable, and he's obviously listening to the manager, knows the tempo they play at, because he was getting forward on Sunday especially when Ralston came on. To good effect, you know, but probably because it was a strange position, overhit the runway a couple of times with crosses, didn't he, or overshot the runway. But if he's playing in a similar position tonight, then he'll probably take that on board and maybe deliver the goods when it matters. But yeah, I like Juranovic. I always maintain that players aren't Croatian internationals for nothing. You know, they've got ability. That's why they're playing for their country. So when he came in, I was quite excited, and he's done nothing to dampen that enthusiasm or excitement. And I think he'll only get better once he really settles in. He's showing signs of being increasingly settled, but once he's fully settled, and then he'll iron out all those, a couple of those slight deficiencies that I mentioned, i.e. he's passing and, you know, the odd mistake.
Here's a wee question coming in from Roscoe. Why don't you go to the games? Well, I wouldn't be sitting here. We decided during the pandemic that we would continue with the match day bulletins, so we cover every single game. And whoever isn't at the game covers the hosting and contributor duties of the ACSOM match day bulletins. I do have a season ticket, had a season ticket last season. And for the home games, generally, my brother, his laddie, and my old man are using the season tickets. But yeah, we are hoping, and Lawrence raised that very same question in the WhatsApp group. How about maybe giving Paul a couple of the games? And yes, we are working as a team to try and rotate the contributors on the match day stuff, Lawrence.
Squad rotation, isn't it?
Squad rotation.
Yeah.
We also approached the club, actually, because we wanted to have any kind of space. And I mean, all you're talking about is a cupboard at the ground where we could do this and still be at the game. And there is apparently some kind of broadcasting issue where no one is allowed to broadcast in the stadium other than those with the broadcasting rights, even if you're not broadcasting the game, which I found quite interesting. So we are in a bit of a situation where we are going to continue with the match day stuff, but it means you don't get to as many games as you would like. We have 14 contributors on ACSOM, and hopefully over the next few months we'll be able to get more people in the host chair, and I can go and take my seat in the main stand it is this season, actually. So there you are. And but thanks for your question, Roscoe. I would much rather be at the games as much as I love Tony and Lawrence. But we will be doing things a wee bit differently in 2022. So keep yourself tuning into ACSOM and get subscribing on the YouTube channel. We must be close to kick-off. Celtic are doing their huddle on the official Ross County PPV stream, Lawrence, just in case anybody grasses us up for watching the dodgy streams, which we're not watching. And Ange Postecoglou takes his seat in the dugout. Wee prediction from you for tonight, Lawrence?
I'm going to go 3-1 Celtic. I think we might lose a goal. 3-1, and I'm going to actually say Owen Moffat to come off and get one off the bench and get one of the goals.
Denny boy comes from Denny, as did Neely Smiler Mockin. Tony, you want to give us a wee prediction tonight?
2-0.
2-0 Celtic. I'll agree with that. I'll go 2-0 Celtic. I think our best area of the park tonight is the defence. We won't lose a goal. Clean sheet tonight. Abada for first goal. You heard it here first. Thanks everybody for getting involved on the live stream. We do appreciate your ongoing support. Thank you to our sponsor for the match day tonight, the Penalty Spot. You can catch their link in the video description. Enjoy the game, and we'll see you at half time on A Celtic State of Mind.